Clint Eastwood's longtime girlfriend, Christina Sandera, has died. She was 61 years old.
Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor and director, is facing a shocking loss with the death of his girlfriend, Christina Sandera, at just 61 years old. In this video, we will explore the heartbreaking details surrounding her passing and the impact it has on Eastwood's life. Stay tuned as we uncover the emotional journey ahead and the unexpected insights that reveal a deeper understanding of love, loss, and resilience in this difficult time. Clint's early love life, a roller coaster of emotions. Clint Eastwood is a name that everyone recognizes. He is an actor and director who starred in many films. But beneath all the glamour, Clint has had a romantic life that has been as high as it has been low. It's like a roller coaster. He had many affairs and even had been married more than once, which proves that love has never been easy for him. When Clint was young, he was married to a lady called Maggie Johnson. They were dating for quite some time and even had children. But as time went on, Clint started seeing other women, and that brought some serious issues to the relationship. Finally, Clint and Maggie got a divorce and went their different ways. Clint went on acting and making more movies, and once again he came across other women that aroused him. Clint was once linked to many women, but one of the most famous women Clint dated was an actress called Sandra Locke. They both acted in many films together, and many people believed that they were a couple made for each other. However, even their relationship had some problems, and it did not last long. Clint kept on dating other women, and people began to perceive him as a man with very many affairs. He was capable of love, and he gave it with abandon. But the relationships just never seemed to pan out. Later in life, Clint met a very special person in his life. She was not as popular as him, but she was as dear to him as anyone could ever be. This woman also became his girlfriend and remained with him for several years. It was a loving relationship, and Clint was already in his older years when they were together. Do you know how they met? It wasn't in a big movie or at a fancy party. Often love is just a slow realization of two people who meet in a noisy and busy world. Clint and his girlfriend were able to find happiness in the way they related. They liked to discuss everything with each other, starting from the books they liked and ending with the sights they had ever witnessed. They revealed personal experiences that were important to them, although they did not have to express it on social networks. Even though Clint had been occasioned on different relationships, this was different. It was not about being on the covers of magazines or going to the big Hollywood parties. It was about the moments they had together. It was about them, two people in the world. And those moments were the things that turned their relationship into something so special. Over the years, Clint enjoyed several years of their togetherness, developing fond memories that he would cherish. If you see their pictures, you can tell that they are happy people. It was not a fairy tale, but it was a real story, and that's why it was perfect. They created a life, with little stories and great jokes, as every beautiful story should be. The heart behind Clint's smile. Christina Sandera, the woman Clint Eastwood met in his twilight years, that made his life a little less lonely. Christina was not a star as Clint, but she had a very special role in his life. They met in 2014 when Christina was a hostess at Clint's Mission Ranch Hotel in Carmel by the Sea, California. Clint, the owner of the hotel, probably saw her kindness and friendly disposition. After some time, they entered into a relationship and they became lovers. Christina was a very reserved lady, and this is why there is not a lot of information about her early years, her job before she met Clint. What we do know is that she was not someone who would want to be in the public eye. Indeed, she preferred living a quiet life out of the Hollywood glare and all the cameras that accompanied the lifestyle. This might be one of the reasons why Clint was so relaxed with her. She was warm, affectionate, and encouraging, and did not require any attention for herself. Christina's values were about being nice and sweet. She was a very down-to-earth person who liked being in the nature, talking to people, and being there for the ones she cared about. While she may not have made movies like Clint, she influenced his life in the same way. Clint Eastwood was not short of women throughout his youthful years, but Christina was unique to him. It was not just a love story between two people. It was two people who were friends, partners, and lovers who stood by each other in the good times and in the bad. Christina was able to provide Clint with that much-needed stability after being surrounded by the fast life of Hollywood for years. It was obvious to anyone who had been observing them that they were together. They went to large occasions such as the Oscars, holding hands and smiling at each other. But the glamour aside, their affair was one of trust, love, and respect. Christina was always present during Clint's significant moments, but they also had some intimacy. While some of Clint's previous relationships were very much out in the open, his love for Christina was much more private. When Clint was young, Christina was helpful, but as he got older, she became even more important in his life. The gentle sweetheart was a wife who stood by him as he kept on making movies in his 90s. Christina was not only a girlfriend, but she turned into a morale booster. That is why Clint once said that Christina was a lovely, caring woman. Those words give a testimony on how much he appreciated her and did not only want a figure by his side at official functions, but a companion who made his life worth living in their minute-to-minute existence. In movies, Clint is always portrayed as a strong man, a tough guy, but Christina was able to soften him up. She was a homebody. He was a wanderer. She was gentle. He was rough. She was a thinker. He was a doer. So they helped each other and develop a proper combination to make each of them happy and satisfied. Clint could count on her for comfort, care, and she could turn to him to keep her in check and inspire her to create. In return, she was stimulated by Clint's interest in filmmaking industry and telling of stories. Despite the fact that they had been seen in some occasions on red carpet, Christina and Clint were most comfortable when they were at home out of the limelight. They had a very quiet life at the ranch, away from the glamour of Hollywood. Christina responded well to the simple existence of the ranch, and the two continued to revel in the splendid aspects of nature and in conversation alone. Clint was the famous actor and director that everybody knew in public, but in private, he was a man who loved the woman at his side. Christina did not need the fame or spotlight to seek happiness. She was happy being with Clint and their life together. She provided support to Clint and let him to go on making his films and other projects well into his old age. But theirs was a more discreet love, and everyone who knew them could see that they were in love. Christina Sandera was not just Clint Eastwood's girlfriend. She was his companion, generally a friend. She was the one who gave him love, friendship, and therefore made his life filled with peace. It is not the sort of tale that would grace the covers of the women's magazines, but it was a love story that was important to both of them. To know more about her illness and what caused her to die tragically, let us get deeper into the details. A long battle with illness. This heart condition had been ailing Christina for some time, though it was not a secret to many people. It was not a new disease. She had been suffering from her health for a long time, but she didn't make a fuss about it. Well, you know, often individuals have issues within their body that perhaps are not easily shared, and Christina was one of those individuals. Despite the problems she faced, she attempted to live life to the maximum and was happy with the happy time she spent with Clint and the good moments that they spent together. Christina's health had started declining in the years prior to her death. She might have seemed good on the outside, but her heart was waging a big war inside. Clint, who has been a giant figure in Hollywood, was devastated when he learned about it. He supported her all the time, proving just how much he loved her. Their relationship was a beautiful emotion of love and partnership. Clint was not only provided for her, but also ensured that he was tended to in all aspects. He frequently went to see her and made sure she was fine, that she was loved, and that she felt like it. However, it should be noted that even family and friends contribute a lot to one in difficult situations. Christina received that support from Clint, who was always around. Christina had a group of friends and relatives with whom she shares her health problems. They got close to her and showered her with all the love and support she deserved. Such support made her feel a little less alone during such a hard time. Everyone wished her to know that she was not alone in her fight, the heartbreaking moment. Unfortunately, Christina's condition worsened for the worse. Sometimes she appeared to be in control of her illness, and other times the illness took her away. She died rather unexpectedly, surprising all the people who cared for her. Of course, Clint was heartbroken. This might be one of the hardest things in the world, and it was so unfair that Christina was taken from the world prematurely. The responses from her family and friends contained grief. They could scarcely believe that the woman they loved was no more with them. Morgan, Clint's daughter, said that the death was devastating to the family. She said that it felt like they lost a family member when Christina died. It was a very difficult time for everyone involved. When the information about Christina's death was released, it went viral. Everyone was in shock. Some could not have known that she had an illness, and so it came as a shock. What had been a love and admiration that many held dear for Clint and Christina magnanimously came out as people offered their condolences. From the way people received her, especially Max, it was quite apparent that Christina was a welcomed character in the series, and not just because of her connection to Clint, but for her warm and beautiful soul. They began to tell stories of people that she had loved in her lifetime, proving that she had loved people in her life. Christina may have had a particularly difficult fight with her health, but she also had some lovely moments with Clint. Their love story was expressing that even if things are very rough, love is always able to be bright. Promise was ultimately fulfilled when Clint stayed by her side during sickness, and when the two had grown close, signifying good-natured and compassionate companionship. But now that she has gone, it's good to remember the positive impact she made on the world. Indeed, Christina was more than just Clint Eastwood's girlfriend. She was a young woman with dreams, passion, and life that was worth living. She will be remembered by all those who knew her and loved her. Christina Sandera, Clint Eastwood's girlfriend and companion, was the cause of his world to turn upside down. Death of a loved one may be painful, and Clint, the man who seems to act like a commander throughout the series, is not immune to this feeling. It's like when you lose the toy that made you happy. All of a sudden everything is different, and you want to cling to what used to make you happy. Clint was devastated, and this is evident after Christina succumbed to death, and all things considered, Clint was left shaken. Many years he had been friends with her, and she had a special place in his life. It is like losing your best friend, that kind of pain. While to everyone in the outside world, Clint was a strong man, inside he was struggling with grief. He had to go through this overwhelming grief at the same time, as being in public eye is never easy. After the death of his daughter Christina, Aguilera noticed pain in his eyes every time he went out in public. He was still going to functions, but they could easily tell that he was not the Clint they were familiar with. His usual spirit appeared to have been sapped, and other people could sense that all was not well with him. It is like the lights have gone out and all that is left are the shades. Clint had his ways of mourning privately and also in front of the cameras. In private, he probably sat down and thought of the good times he had with Christina and how much he wanted to be with her. In the interviews, he said how much she was important to him and always mentioned her positive character traits, such as being warm-hearted. Thus, it must be understood that people's feelings about any situation may vary. Some people thus need to speak out to get the feeling out of their systems, while others just want to shut the feeling in a corner. Even while working on his projects, Clint remained productive. Yet the tragedy was still obvious to him. He dedicated himself in his career, but somehow the films are tinged with melancholy. It is like cycling when you are sad. It is more difficult to push the pedal when the heart is down. Audiences identified this aspect of his personality in later projects that revealed new and deeper levels of complexity to narrative. When trying to understand what Christina meant to him, Clint was able to remember just how important she was to him. They had developed a relationship that defined his later life. She brightened his life, made him laugh at things that he never found funny before, and just being able to have her by his side was worth a lot to him. That's similar to having a BFF who has the ability to put a smile to your face at the toughest time. This companionship made Clint learn many aspects of love as a couple. He probably adapted to the simple things in life they did together, such as eating a meal together or watching the sunset. These memories became small and big treasures in his heart. Clint was not alone during this heartbreaking time. People close to him stood by him and encouraged him. They were there for him. Everyone needs someone to lean on. Everyone needs a helping hand, especially during seasons of life when they're stressed. They offered him a platform where he could freely cry and mourn for the dead. Like friends who come to sit with you when you are sad, Clint had people who knew his suffering and who guided him through it. Morgan and his other children were also with him, and they all understood the value of family members. They spoke about her, telling joyful incidents, happy moments that she added to their lives. This common reminiscence allowed Clint to come to terms with what happened gradually. When Christina Sandera died, the media immediately seized on this, and the story became one of both Christina Sandera herself and Clint Eastwood grief. The major outlets covered the news with a touch of sorrow and respect. It was always the same with Clint's personal life, and the reaction to Christina's death was no different. For several months and years after Christina's death, Clint Eastwood was working through the grieving process. They would never be the same again. The shock, let alone the loss, was one that would take years to mend. Perhaps Clint was able to find comfort in work, and in the process of filmmaking, being able to let out his feelings and suffering into creation. New project engagements could have acted as a form of therapy, giving him something to do while nursing his heartache. During this period, friends, family, and colleagues started to gain a lot of importance in the lives of people. Bereavement is where support structures come in handy, and that they are people who are there to offer you a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on. Clint probably turned to his children for emotional support and companionship to make him realize the value of kinship. Being with families would have given other happy, laughing times that would have offset the sorry. Clint Eastwood's heart has endured unimaginable loss. If you found this story touching, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more updates on celebrity news and heartfelt stories. Your support means a lot to us.